Seems like truckers versus New York and Donald Trump is heating up. We're going to be talking a lot in this video about the trucking situation, the new updates about the truckers, and what's happening in New York City because it's chaos right now. If you guys don't know what New York is doing right now, they're doing this whole entire sanctuary city migrant situation. And for those who haven't heard anything about it, New York, one of the wealthiest cities in the world whose GDP is higher than some countries, is now going broke because they can't handle almost 100,000 migrants. New York City crime is going up. They can't take care of their own citizens. They could barely take care of the migrants. We're actually seeing homeless shelters popping everywhere in New York. It is over for New York City. And check this out. People on X are saying that the left are responding to the trucker New York City boycott of Donald Trump, expressing support for capitalism and also saying the immigrants will probably be replacing the truckers. I don't really think so, guys. Right? If you guys think other people are going to be replacing the current trucking population, it's impossible. Now, obviously, some of the migrants are probably doing trucking because the trucking shortage is insane. There's about 80,000 driver shortage right now, but the burnout rates for trucking is immense. And I really do applaud people who are truckers because it's a very, very difficult job. It's not like your 9-to-5 job. These guys are always caffeinated. They're away from home. They're always driving late nights. Like I said, the burnout rates are crazy. And I highly doubt these trucking spots will be filled up. There is a shortage, guys, and that shortage is going to be hitting 200,000 drivers by the end of this decade. New York City shelves are empty and bare after a Truckers for Trump protest proves to be a success. Now, once again, there is a lot of misinformation. Not every trucker in the United States is boycotting New York City. In fact, I could say the majority of truckers are still sending loads to New York City. But there's one thing you need to know is if New York City just gets a decrease of 5 to 10% of the original trucking load, prices of goods will explode up. And truckers are usually very united. Like in 2019, thousands of truckers refused to deliver to anything to Colorado, which basically made them to re-examine the trial and the ruling. It's a very touchy subject. It's a subject that you could read for yourself back in 2019. And it's one of the most interesting sentences / court trials I've ever seen. You know, it's very, very sad this incident happened, but you do see that the trucker community, they do kind of look out for each other, and the same thing's happening with Truckers for Trump. New York City shelves are empty. Not every store, but some stores are, and this is what we're seeing right now. And it could be having a lasting impact as time goes on, because New York City is spending so much crazy money on the migrant crisis. New York City Mayor Eric Adams says every single migrant will be getting $13 a day on a prepaid credit card. How nice. Now, obviously, $13 will probably just be a meal at Chipotle, but like I said, the migrants get $13 that they could spend at local businesses, which probably are making it cheaper for migrants when they use these cards. And not to mention, these migrants already get hotels. They already get 3 meals a day. It's just money on top of it. And it's pretty wild to see that the New York City homeless population is growing, but they don't get anything. If you're born in New York City and you were laid off from a job, rent's pretty crazy high, it's hard to find a stable job, and you're homeless, for example, well, good luck. You will never get a $13 a day prepaid credit card unless you're a migrant. Like I said, New York City, it's not really that big of a space. They just took in way too many people in a very short amount of time. New York is built by immigrants, and I'm sure many people in New York are fine with immigrants. But when you have 100,000 people in such a small place, people get mad. It really is taking a huge toll on the city. And that's not me saying this, guys. The S&P Global Ratings is saying this. From Chicago to Denver and back here to New York City, we're seeing big changes. And the city is literally slowly going broke. Now, if New York just took in 1,000 to 2,000 migrants, I think everyone would have been cool with it. And Americans are struggling, whereas Democrats are handing credit cards to foreigners, is what a lot of people are just talking about. I think the real frustration is, number one, you got a lot of sanctuary cities getting their recreational hours cut, DMVs cut, and a lot of this money being given out are taxpayer dollars, whereas the homeless crisis in New York, Denver, and Chicago are growing. Nothing is being done about that situation, and that's what's making people really mad. We're also seeing protests breaking out in Harlem after residents found out New York City was turning a luxury building in their place into a shelter for migrants. And right now, local residents are kind of fed up, right? And it's not just here, even Boston. They turn like this less fortunate community who doesn't have that much money. Their only recreational spot, like their basketball court and basketball center, is being turned to just a massive migrant camp. And I don't think the citizens and residents of Harlem are happy about this at all. They don't want to see this. They're kind of done with the migrant crisis. And there's a lot of people who are starving. They don't have money. They're in poverty. They're almost homeless. Some are straight up homeless in the Harlem area and especially the Bronx. But is anything being done with it? Not really. And this really gets back to the whole trucking situation, right? I think many truckers, they're not delivering loads to New York City, not just because of the Trump case, which even guys like Kevin O'Leary are saying it's very unjust because it's just regular real estate development stuff. Every single developer did what Trump did, taking out a loan on an existing building. Nothing's really super crazy about that. But it's also what's happening in New York City. Nobody is keeping these guys in check. I mean, they don't really care. They could make the city go broke if they want. And the governments of many of these cities are just going down the drain. In New York City, big financial hub, big hedge fund hub, and a big tech hub is now getting their business stolen by other cities. Like the places in Florida, you got Nevada and Texas, taking many of these sanctuary cities' business and the rich people. And so far, New York is truly crumbling. And a lot of truckers are really feeling like New York City, the financial hub of the world, where the NASDAQ and the stock market is located, where Wall Street is now crumbling to dust. And look at this. Businesses flee. This is from Grant Cardone, one of the biggest celebrity real estate investors. More businesses are considering relocation to either Florida or Texas after Trump's ruling. Why is that, you ask? And why is the Trump ruling so interesting? Because the thing about real estate is Trump, he has a $400 million building, right? Like he built it. It's in New York City. And then he tries to take out like an existing loan with a small regional bank for $200 million. The bank said that they're willing to loan out $200 million because they want to work with Trump. But the judge said, no, we're not going to listen to the bank. Let's just charge Donald Trump with fraud. And Trump is now forced to pay $355 million. And he's probably going to have to sell one of his massive buildings. And even one of the New York attorneys said that, hey, if Trump isn't going to be paying this $355 million, we're just going to seize one of his skyscrapers. And this is freaking out a lot of real estate guys, because the whole point of real estate is to take out debt from an existing building that you own so you could build more skyscrapers. And New York's blood is just buildings and real estate. Right now, migrants in New York City are receiving 7 months of free rents. We're seeing free meals, free insurance, and $13 prepaid credit cards. Seem to be pretty good, and many of these hotels are in very nice areas in Manhattan. This is not in bad locations. And the accommodations are pretty sweet. What about the New York City original homeless population? What about them? Like, are they screwed? Yeah, they're pretty much screwed. If you're homeless and you have a U.S. citizenship, you're probably on the streets. You're probably not getting any sort of hotels, free meals, free rent, insurance, or definitely not a prepaid credit card. Let's see what happens. I think a lot of people in New York are pretty frustrated about this whole situation. People are fine with migrants, but when you have just so many and now the city's going broke, paying for everyone, there really wasn't that much planning, according to a lot of people on X and other forums. So what do you guys think about this so far? Thanks for watching, guys. Comment below, and see you later.